Thanks, Claude. I think the first thing I'll address and talk about a little bit is, the expectations we have here at Georgia for our student athletes. Certainly we haven't met some of those requirements, and we want our student athletes to meet those, and we take those things very seriously. The standards that have been created here for a long time, that doesn't change, and we want our players to live up to those. And the mistakes they make, we treat them like we do our kids. We discipline them. We try to prevent them. We try to educate them. We try to do all we can to help our student athletes in a positive way. And it's been a tough go with the death of Chandler and Devin. As you guys know, it's a tragic accident. And our players have been through a lot. When you talk about the help and the mental health that some of our guys have needed since the accident, it's been a really tough go of it for them. I feel like our players are starting to be able to acknowledge and they understand that when you make mistakes, that decisions that are costly can cost you your life, and that's not to be taken lightly. And I think our guys understand that and continue to educate them, and we'll continue to do all we can as a university to make sure they behave and do that in a proper way. But I am very strongly in belief that we have a great group of young men on our football team. We have a great culture on our football team. We had our highest GPA we've ever had in the fall. We've got the most kids doing a lot of the community outreach that is really positive. So there's a lot of good there that comes out of our kids that probably doesn't get noticed as well, especially with the things that have happened here recently. A couple statements about spring practice, and then I'll open this up for questions. But we got several guys that are out for spring. We always talk about this at the beginning. Dan Jackson's still out. Marvin Jones had shoulder surgery. Josh Miller came in with a shoulder surgery. Andrew Paul is still out with an ACL. And Jalen Walker is out with a shoulder surgery. So we've got five guys that are out for the spring, probably less than we've had in recent years. And I'm looking forward to a lot of competition and battles across the line in terms of positions. We got a lot of positions up for grabs. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
If you have a question, raise your hand. We'll get the floor mic to you.
Hi, Kirby. As you mentioned, after the recent arrests for racing, what have you done from your position to try to send a message, about racing and speeding to kind of reinforce it, which I assume you've been talked about for months and years?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I've never been a part of a program where that was something you had to repeatedly address. And as I said in the past, we had a session this summer where we brought in Athens-Clarke County Police and UGA Police and addressed a lot of these issues with our team, actually in a team meeting setting, and played some video of things that were going on in Atlanta with drag racing and things that just concern you. We do that with drugs and alcohol. We do that with domestic violence. We try to have education programs, but education is not enough. You have to do a great job of making sure your players understand the risks and dangers that are out there with vehicles, especially nowadays that go really fast. You've got to be extremely careful, and we try to educate and make sure our players understand those risks. But and the ongoing part of that is to continue to educate them and let them know. And that's a programming piece for us. We do in the fall and then we do in the spring. The 2 times where we're really down from football, we spend a lot of time educating our players of the dangers they can get into, and that's one that we'll continue to do, and we treat it very seriously.
That's with the players. You said on ESPN that no policy changes were needed in the wake of the crash. I'm curious as to what the actual policy is regarding the access to vehicles, and how would someone know that? How is it communicated within football that you can have this car or not?
Well, first thing I want to clarify is it's no policy or lack thereof policy caused this accident. Policies are constantly under review and trying to find things that can do better, but no policy or lack thereof, and we found no reason to change anything we have. Our workers in our department have a ability to drive a vehicle or not drive a vehicle that's rented, and those student workers and the 2 young ladies have permission to drive those vehicles, and they were driving them when they should not have been driving them, and that policy was broken. And it's to be understood that you cannot take a vehicle when you're not doing your duties, and they were not participating in their duties at that time.
So of these issues that have come up, and you mentioned that some of the players have not met their responsibilities, basically. Do you feel that you have exercised proper control, proper supervision and oversight of the program, or has this situation gotten out of hand for you?
No, absolutely. We've got complete control of our program and our kids in our program. Do kids make mistakes? Yes, young student athletes make mistakes. They do. It happens all across the country. It happens here. There's no lack of control for our program. I think our kids across the board will tell you that we have an incredible culture here. We have a connective tissue that brings our team together. Our guys do make mistakes. That's historically probably going to happen when you're 18 to 22-year-old. Our job as coaches is to prevent that from happening, and that starts with me, and you do it by how you educate your players and how you discipline your players, and we'll continue to do that at a high standard.
You mentioned education just with street racing, that this is new. You haven't really come across this in your coaching career. Outside of education, recognizing that Jalen had shown previous incidences of street racing, a pattern potentially, other players have conducted street racing. What more can you do outside education? And you mentioned some repercussions. Yet what penalties have these players faced, and have you looked to change some of that?
First, that's a really big question, a really broad-based question. So anytime we have discipline with our players when it comes to law enforcement, we discipline our players. That's very commonplace. In the case of Jalen, he's not on our team currently, so that's a hard question to answer when you talk about the discipline that's in place for what just occurred. And really, that's an ongoing investigation in which he hasn't been tried for. Very similarly with Jamon, with Pop, he still has a day in court for those charges that are still charges right now. He has to handle those in court. Will they be disciplined? Pop, absolutely, he will be disciplined. Do I have to define what that discipline is right now? No, I don't have to define what that discipline is, but I can assure you that the education piece is there and the discipline's there. Our team is a very disciplined team. They're going to do what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it, and when they don't, they're going to face the repercussions from that. And that'll be the case in all these situations that we're talking about now. I do think it's a piece that needs to be educated and talked about further, and I'm very proud of the fact that we brought in speakers and to educate our players of what's going on across the country at a time in the summer when that was kind of imminent, and we were seeing it across Atlanta. There were some things going on. I think they see those same things, and a lot of times they want to mimic those. You know, they see those events and drag racing and street racing, and you always want to monitor that. As far as monitoring speeding, that's a little more difficult because that doesn't come directly. I don't know when our kids get a speeding ticket. I have no way of knowing. I know when our kids get arrested, but I don't have a way of policing speeding unless I'm aware of it.
Kirby, are there any changes to the structure of your organization that you're going to make or policies that you think can help with off-field behavior?
I don't think, again, it's following the protocol that we have in terms of discipline and structure. I don't think we have any kind of problem with that. I mean, we've had players that have faced suspensions. We lost a player last year, mid-year, that was disciplined and kicked off the team. We've lost players in the past for behavioral issues. That will continue to stand up and stand tried and true. I think it's important that if you're going to play at the University of Georgia, you represent the University of Georgia the right way. But I also think that these are young men that are going to make mistakes. And I'm a big believer in education, helping them to become better. It's not just does the discipline fit the behavior. Can you change the behavior? Because that's really what we're charged with, right? Growing young men into adults, making sure they graduate, make sure they become better people, and we've got to find better ways within our organization to continue to do that to help them. That's what we want to do. We want to help these young men become better people. You know, I got a text from Jonathan Ledbetter, and he talked to me a long time about what it did for his life and how much it changed his life. Malik Herring, another guy. I mean, when you see the positive effect of guys growing from mistakes they made, those are things you want to try to help them with.